Coming up on this episode of One-on-One Sports,
we dive into the exciting and entertaining WNBA playoffs.
Look at the best NFL debuts.
And go back to school shopping with struggling college football teams.
All that and so much more.
And it all starts
right now.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of the new year here at One-on-One Sports. My name is Matt Holzappel.
And I'm Andrew Vandellis. We are more than excited to kick off this new year of One-on-One. So let's get started right away with the quick hitters. Defending NASCAR championship team Furniture Row Racing announced last week that 2018 would be their final season competing in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series due to difficulties in finding a sponsor to replace the departing 5-Hour Energy, a much higher price for the team's alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing, and team owner Barney Visser's health problems. Champion driver Martin Truex Jr. and crew chief Cole Pearn are both expected to wear number 19 for Gibbs in 2019. With this season's playoffs about to begin, how does the news of Furniture Row's closure impact the hopes for Truex and number 78 team to go out as back-to-back champions?
Well, first of all, it makes it hard because you have to focus on something other than, losing those jobs, those 61 jobs. So these are people who are currently employed, right, but they're looking for jobs starting at the end of the season, which is November.
Yeah, that
so you have to focus, right?
Yeah, loses their focus on that. So it's a distraction, especially not only for the crew, but also for Martin Truex as well, because he's got to start looking for his future now and finding a new crew
I'll say this in the defense of the team. They're used to the underdog role. Last year, no one expected them to win, and they did. So I think this year they're even more of an underdog because they have this whole thing looming over them.
But are they really underdogs if their expectations are so high? You have everyone, even Truex's friend Dale Earnhardt, saying that he's got a lot of success coming up, but it's even going to be tough for him. So when you have someone who recently retired like Earnhardt and such a legend in the business saying that he has these high expectations for Truex and the team, it's not good because they can only do so much and they're bound to fail.
I think it's a mental thing. We could definitely see it impact them this season.
Definitely.
Los Angeles Angels two-way star Shohei Ohtani recently found out he will require Tommy John surgery. Instead of undergoing treatment on the elbow, Ohtani and the Angels have elected to have him finish out the season as their designated hitter. And is this jeopardizing his future as a pitcher?
It's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the worst thing for him. He's proven so far that he's a versatile player. He already has 6 home runs already. So putting him at the DH isn't the worst thing for his pitching future. While they should rest him a little bit, this is about as limited as a role to not playing as you're going to get.
I understand playing him. He's hitting .290, 19 home runs, almost leading the team in RBIs, but here's the thing. There are 3 games left, or they are 3 games away from being eliminated from the wild card spot with 20 games left, or less than 20 games on the season. Yankees and Athletics are going to be the wild card team. So at this point, what are you playing for when you're playing Ohtani? You're just wasting his potential, I think. And he's young, too.
I disagree, though, because, it gives him exposure there, and it doesn't necessarily mean he has to stop pitching in the future. After this season, whenever it does end for them, wild card or not, it gives him time to go and rehab his arm, but also it still gives him time to play in a much more competitive setting like September and October.
I think it all comes down to how they want to use him in the future, whether it's pitching or hitting. But the problem is this is a grade 2 sprain. It could become a grade 3 tear, which will absolutely require surgery. That's my fear. It becomes worse.
So your fear is more about just don't wear it down when it's already bad?
Exactly. It could get worse, and that would spell disaster for Ohtani and the Angels.
Certainly a rough road ahead for the Angels. In August, the Lakers and Luol Deng reached a buyout agreement after playing in only 1 game for LA last season. Now, this might not normally be big news, but this buyout increases the Lakers' cap room ability from $25 million to the $38 million. Next season, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Kawhi Leonard headline the free agent list. Matt, which player do you think the Lakers will target?
I'm going to shock you. Klay Thompson. And here's why. First of all, KD and Kawhi are both small forward, maybe power forwards, but the Lakers have a small forward and a power forward they like. LeBron's power forward, and I think Brandon Ingram at small forward is someone they want to develop. He's going to get better. They want him to be a lifelong Laker, and he will be if they continue to develop him. You look at that lineup. Lonzo Ball, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Ingram, LeBron, whoever starts at center. The thing missing is a sharpshooter, best shooter. That's Klay Thompson. He goes right in the shooting guard spot. He fits perfectly with their lineup.
One thing I think that the Lakers are really missing, other than LeBron, is a really good lockdown defensive player, and that's why you go for Kawhi Leonard.
Klay Thompson can do that too, though.
Yeah, but I think with Kawhi, you can shift him around more than you could Klay. Klay, you could maybe put him at the 3, keep him at the 2. You could have Kawhi both at the 2 and the 3. You can move him around, have him guard anybody. Curry, check. KD, check. Russ or Paul George, check. Anybody in the West, Kawhi can guard. And on top of that, he's a sharpshooter of his own. He's aggressive to the ball, and he's one of the best players in the league.
I'm not knocking Kevin Durant at all. There's no doubt he's a top 2 player in the NBA, and he deserves as much money as he's going to get. I don't see him leaving Golden State, although I didn't see him leaving OKC. I just think that
but
Klay
he's
Thompson
actually winning championships
and
in Golden
KCP
State
is the most expendable starter the Lakers have right now. Therefore, that shooting guard spot slots him in perfectly. Talk about Kawhi.
Well,
if he loves Toronto, he could say. We don't know that yet.
I mean, he wasn't certainly happy with that initial move now.
He's not happy with anything now.
You know he'll be happy if he plays with LeBron because that means actual title contention in the years to come. Toronto,
I agree.
Not really.
We'll have to see. Obviously, LeBron looking to fill that roster out as much as he can. Sunday marked the first full day of the NFL season, and one of the first games of the day ended in the most improbable way. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns ended their first game of the year in a 21-21 tie. Andrew, is it time to change the overtime rules, and if so, what are they going to look like?
I'm going to go with the age-old adage here, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. While they could be changed, why even have the concept of a tie or, even the prospect of it introduced in the first place? It adds intrigue to games. At the same time, you have people like the Browns who actually didn't lose this time, and while it would decide a winner to change it, have a decisive winner, it adds more spice to any future playoff implications, of course, for the Steelers.
One crazy thing about this is that it shouldn't have been a tie. Boswell missed a field goal. Gonzalez missed a field goal. I don't know how this ended in a tie. It's embarrassing for both teams. A couple years ago when we had a tie between Arizona and Seattle, both of the kickers there missed field goals too. It adds that extra sense of pressure, and it gives them something to play for, and it's an intriguing ending that we don't get to see nowadays. What I would do is I would have one untimed period, much as the way college football does it, but I wouldn't start at the 25 because kickoffs and punt returns are so important in the NFL. No ties. You just play till one team scores, the other one doesn't. No repeats of Packers-Cardinals a couple years ago in the playoffs. Well, that is all the time we have for the quick hitters.
But don't worry, we have the WNBA Finals coming up next. This year's WNBA Finals have been everything we've wanted and more. I'm here at the desk with Manuel Tobe and Josh Toback to break down what we've seen in the coast-to-coast matchup between the Seattle Storm and Washington Mystics. So, Manny, I'll throw it to you. Who has been the most dominant performer of the series so far?
Oh, I think if you're talking about dominance, you have to talk about Breanna Stewart and the work that she's done, not just for the series, but for this team overall throughout the entire year. She's been consistently good. She scored 25 points this game, 22 points last game. I mean, if you just look at the work that she's done as a forward, really helping this team, usually the play moves through her. To me, you cannot talk about someone being dominant and someone helping their team like Breanna Stewart. She does everything. 7 rebounds last game as well. I mean, just look at the work that she's put in.
Yeah, Josh, who do you have in
Stewart's been the hidliner for sure, but I got to look at Natasha Howard here. She scored 19 points in one game and also got several rebounds in there. But she's been getting rebounds like all the time. And my thing with her is that she's been the unsung hero of the Storm's surgeons. Rebounds win games, and she's been great on defense ever since she joined the team.
I think scoring points wins game.
Yeah,
and I think if we're talking about scoring points,
rebounds lead to
Natasha
points,
Howard had 8 points last game. I don't think she's winning any games.
But she scored 19 in the first game, which was a blowout, and it was a close game when she only scored 8. So my point is, she's been a very good unsung hero for the Storm, and one of the reasons why they're still in the lead.
Well, Josh, what do you think the Mystics need to do in order to come back and win the series?
I mean, contrary to my thing, they got to stop Stewart, because like I mentioned, Howard is also a key player as well, but Stewart's been lighting them up, right?
Exactly.
And I only brought up Howard because, like I said, defense is most important, but you don't have to stop somebody on defense. You can't double team someone on defense. Whereas Stewart's been putting up double-digit points every game and been, like I said, the headlining player. So
I think so. I think if we're talking about something that the Washington Mystics have to do, to me, it's make threes. This is a team that made threes, and when they do, they're successful through it. They were 3rd in three-point percentage this year, 5th in the league in three-pointers made and attempted. I mean, if you just look at this team. Throughout this series, they've been terrible. 0 for 16, a WNBA record for finals. And at the three-point line, I mean, just look at what they've done. 3 for 37 this entire series. I think they need to make threes, especially when you're away. That's when you really need to lean on your 3 points.
I'd argue against that though, because if they're live by the 3, die by the 3, right? So in my opinion, I would say maybe dial it down a bit, maybe try and go for more stuff in the paint.
I say live by the 3, die by the 3, and right now they're dying.
They're dying,
exactly.
all right.
And they need to make their threes. This is a team that can make threes. They're just not doing it, and that's the issue.
So Manny, I don't even have to ask. Who do you got to win it all?
I have Seattle Storm. To me, they're better offensively. Washington is a really good defensive team, but to me, they've made a couple of key mistakes. To me, it's just Seattle in 4. I don't see Washington having any competition really this series.
Yeah, I agree, but I have Seattle in 5 because they did look good. Washington looked good in Game 2. They just couldn't get the win, and that killed them. I don't think they're going to win this series. History dictates that teams that are down 2-0 are not going to win the series, and Seattle has already is on pace to win 3 titles.
Oh, they're going to win 3 titles.
They're going to win
and
3 titles.
And to me, they're winning in 4. It's easy.
Well, that's all the time we have for this WNBA block of one-on-one, but when we come back, Matt will be at the desk to break down the best of Week 1 of the NFL season.
I know, 2 seconds. Hang on, just stand still. Stand still. One second. Go, go, go. Boys, hang on, boys.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does.
And like that, you're a job creator.
I'm 1 on Bookie Guide. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
This NFL offseason featured a lot of big names changing teams. With that being said, I'm joined at the desk by Ennis Warlick, who's here to break down the who those who lived up to the expectations and those who did not so much. So, Ennis, first one, who had the best debut with their new team?
So there's a lot of players that played well. I got to go with Khalil Mack. Of course, his team lost, but he balled out 3 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 1 pass deflection, 1 interception, 1 TD. I mean, he did it all last night. But the real loser right here was John Gruden.
Absolutely.
It was John Gruden. I don't know how you could watch this game and not just cringe. Like Khalil Mack balled out. Nobody could block him. He showed that he didn't need OTAs. He didn't need training camp. He didn't need any of this. He didn't need the offseason. He didn't need the entire offseason. Khalil Mack dominated in this game, and he showed why John Gruden made the wrong move.
We had a lot of different reports. John Gruden said he didn't want to be here. Khalil Mack said he did, but they didn't want him there. It's just a big mess. I think Khalil Mack's happy in Chicago, though, don't you think? He certainly looked happy.
I mean, he looks happy. He looks happy, but I mean, regardless, I mean, John Gruden shouldn't have let him go for it. I mean, two first-round picks, yeah, but why are you giving Chicago a second-round pick? It doesn't make any sense.
All right, so we move from best debut to worst debut. Who had the worst debut with their new team?
So I understand that this man is not a player, but I got to go with Matt Patricia. This was a disaster. How do you give up 48 points to the New York Jets? That doesn't make any sense. It's a rookie quarterback. He's throwing to Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa, people that, aren't going to get playing time on other teams. And you're going to let them score 48 points. Not a single part of the Detroit Lions team played well. The defense looked bad. The offense looked bad. Stafford threw 4 interceptions to this team. The special teams looked bad. Matt Prater missed 2 field goals. I mean, this was horrible.
So I got a follow-up for you. Is Sam Darnold for real, or is the Lions defense just that bad?
I think Sam Darnold is for real, and I think you have to look at it from the standpoint that he persevered. He threw that pick 6 right on the first play. But I mean, he still has these shaky weapons, and I think he has all these weapons on his offense that really aren't really that good. And he still played well. 48 points is 48 points.
For sure. Darnold looked good. Patricia and the Lions defense did not. Last question, who's going to have the biggest impact down the road? Maybe not yet, but down the road with the new team.
I'm going to say Jarvis Landry for the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, I mean, look, an 18-game winless streak, and I mean, obviously they didn't win this game, but I mean, they still tied the game with a pretty decent Pittsburgh Steelers team. 7 receptions on 15 targets. He's going to add another dimension to that team, another aspect of versatility to that offense.
Yeah, the Browns' defense was shaping up last year. The offense had to catch up. I think Jarvis Landry really adds that. And you think of Josh Gordon, who wasn't consistent. Landry's consistent, gives Tyrod and potentially Baker Mayfield someone to throw to. So it's a good option.
He's going to eliminate those double teams from Josh Gordon. They have Njoku too, Nick Chubb, Carlos Hyde. I mean, this is a whole new team.
The Browns will not be bad this year. You're here on 101 Sports.
Absolutely.
But with that, the sun sets on week 1 of the NFL season. When we come back, Andrew will be hitting the stores to go to back-to-school shopping and a special college football block. You don't want to miss this.
It's September, which means college football is in full bloom. Just like school, you have some teams that are ready to go, whereas others need still to get some supplies for class. I'm joined at the desk by Brad Clear and Drew Gentry, who are going to back-to-school shopping for struggling teams. So how this works is, defense, you get $70, offensive line, $60, quarterbacks are $40, running backs $30, wide receiver $20, and special teams $10. Simple enough, right? Brad, we'll start with you.
All right, so I'm going to go with Florida State here to start off. $60 going to the offensive line. This team did not lead until the 4th quarter of their game against Samford. They should be destroying Samford. Their offensive line was supposed to be their position of weakness for the year. 2 starters on that offensive line are now injured, potentially out for the season. So that rest of that offensive line really needs to step up. With that being said, $30 goes to running back, because if your offensive line is weakened to the point that Florida State's is, you got to change that up. And I'm going $10 to special teams because I have $10 left to spend.
Yeah, my team I chose was Arizona. They lack a running back and a defense. They let Houston put up 45 points on them. Houston literally just tore them apart. Houston ran for 297 yards on 40 carries.
My goodness.
Just look at this. just absolutely destroying. Nobody's trying to make a play there as the running back or quarterback just runs through the defense. Houston absolutely obliterated them. 2 rushing touchdowns, a 60-yard rush, and their quarterback obviously picked them apart. But the offense also has its struggles. They had 42 carries for 134 yards, and their longest run was only 14 yards. If you're running the ball, you have to be able, if you're going to be a Power 5 conference in the Pac-12 and try and contend, you're 0-2, you were predicted 3rd in the South Division. You can't just be that weak defensively. 100%. And your running game, my next one was a running game. They need to get a running back. They have tried to run the ball with their quarterback, and it's not working. He's getting shut down every time he tries to run. He had 8 carries for 6 yards.
Negative yardage.
Yeah.
Negative per carry.
Yeah, he had like 0.4 or 0.8 yards per carry. You can't do that in a Power 5 conference, especially the Pac-12, where teams that were at the bottom for a little bit are starting to show their rise, like Arizona State, who's 2-0. Your in-state rival, you cannot do that.
I think commonalities here that we can find, we have 2 high-powered teams who, if they don't correct glaring deficiencies, are at risk of losing to teams that they should not be losing to. Florida State, if we're being honest here, very well could have lost this game this past week. DeAndre Francois, you got to keep rolling with him. He's got to keep playing at a high level. I didn't mention him here because I don't think it's as pertinent as the offensive line and that running game subsequently, but he is a strong, major factor in this Florida State team moving forward as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, they've allowed 4 different rushing touchdowns against Houston. American Conference, not Power 5. Houston has been in the top 25 in and out, but they still shouldn't be competing with a team that was supposed to be a top 3 in the Pac-12. There's no way a Power 5 should lose to an All-American team.
And then for that matter, there's no reason that a team in the top 25, like Florida State, who has an uphill battle to make a bowl game now, should be struggling to beat Sanford.
Well, guys, it looks like we've maxed out our budget, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Matt will be joined by David to discuss the upcoming Ryder Cup.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
Get caught buzzed driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom.
It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You're throwing away everything you could have bought with it.
The 2018 Ryder Cup rosters have been released, and there are some huge names listed on both sides. Most notably, Tiger Woods is back on the U.S. team for the first time since 2012. I'm joined by David to answer some of the biggest questions we have leading up to the Ryder Cup. So, David, first one, obviously about Tiger. What does this mean for his comeback story?
I think it's the perfect addition to his comeback story, put it that way. Yeah, he doesn't have a win yet this year, but especially in the last couple of months, he's been one of the most consistent players in the world. He's climbed from all the way outside the top 1,000 in the world rankings, and he's already back up, I think, in the 30s. Finished second in the PGA Championship, shot an 8 under 62 last week at the BMW, finished tied for 6th there, made it to the Tour Championship this weekend at Eastlake easily. He's not going to win the FedEx Cup, I highly doubt, but in terms of consistency, what he's shown, he has the potential to be the X factor in this Ryder Cup, especially if he can get that putter rolling.
Tiger Woods may very well be back. So let's move to the other side. We're looking at the European roster. You got guys like McIlroy, Stetson, a lot of big names. Who's going to carry them this year?
Well, Rory McIlroy is never a bad choice. He can have those flashes of brilliance, but much like Tiger, his putter's kind of been letting him down some lately. He's worked out some of those bugs, but Justin Rose has just been ultra consistent. He was up there, didn't quite beat Keegan Bradley at the BMW, but came very close. Obviously, he's got some major wins as well. Dark horse for the European side, Ian Poulter. In the Ryder Cup, 12-3 all-time record, regardless of format. To have that good of a record in the Ryder Cup is great, and to have that experience, especially with the course being in France, a European advantage. That's exactly what they need. Plus, Poulter finally got a PGA Tour win after quite a long drought this year in Houston. So he's poised, I think, to take on the Ryder Cup again and be a big X factor for the Europeans.
A lot of European golfers have big shoes to fill because they've won 6 of the last 8. But USA did win last year's Ryder Cup. Can they do it again this year?
I think they can, and the biggest thing is the discrepancy between the rookies of the U.S. team and the European team. Europe has 5 rookies that have never played in the Ryder Cup. U.S., I believe, now with the addition of Tony Finau, the final captain's pick, they now have 3 rookie Ryder Cup players. But you've got Phil Mickelson as a captain's pick. You've got Tiger, of course, as a captain's pick. You've got Bryson DeChambeau, who's on fire. You've got Jordan Spieth, who does what Jordan Spieth does, which is more often than not exceptional. So with the mix of young and old that the U.S. team has, they're going to be hard to beat.
Certainly a mix of a couple of generational players there for the U.S. team. They're going to have to do back-to-back Europe, trying to stay on their way. That is all the time we have for this round of the Ryder Cup. Up next, Andy and I will be discussing the next sport drought.
Hello and welcome to a one-on-one sports exclusive block. I'm Andrew Vandellis.
And I'm Matt Holzaffel. Each week we'll be discussing one topic in the sports world, and this week we're going to take a step back to the summer and decide once for all the best sports meme of the summer. Andrew, what do you got?
It is the LeBron pointing at J.R. Smith in Game 1 of the NBA Finals like this. You can see the pure horror on LeBron's face as that buzzer ticks to 0, and it has just been applied to every situation possible. You could apply it to, Hurricane Florence coming up. You can apply it to so many things, and it's just a picture for the century.
J.R. Smith got him so bad he left for the Lakers. Mine was the In My Feelings challenge, otherwise known as the Shiggy challenge. So Drake dropped an album in June. He said, "Kiki, do you love me?" Shiggy had to dance for it, and the internet lost it. Odell Beckham, James Harden, Victor Oladipo, Russell Wilson, the entire Auburn women's basketball team all danced to it. It was great. It was a phenomenon on social media.
Worse.
Some of them, Odell's was good. Russell Wilson's Ciara was good. Some, James Harden, not as good. But I still think it was a great phenomenon. You love to see athletes getting together, all sharing their dance moves. It was a great thing for the summer.
Well, I'm sure your dance would have me going like this, but that's okay.